Welcome back. It's time now to take a look at the top business stories. Business relationships between Dubai and Sudan to be further developed. Dubai in talks to become a trade center for liquefied natural gas. And White House response to S&P's downgrade. Let's look at the equity markets. First, the UAE bourses both ended higher today. The DFM General Index surged 1.6% to close at 1,681 points. For yet another day, the utility sector was up the most, with Tabreed soaring 5%. Other stocks to watch are EMA Properties, which rose 1.5%. DU was up 1.3%, and Dubai Islamic Bank gained 3.1%, while Shua Capital gained 1.7%. Also, the airline sector was up, with Air Arabia rising 1.7%. 244 million shares were traded in Dubai, valued at 291 million dirhams. And over in the capital, the ADX General Index gained 0.2% to end the trading day at 2,708 points. The real estate sector was mixed. Alder Properties fell 1.2% and RAG Properties dropped 2.4%, while Solar Real Estate rose 1.3%. Same picture for the banking sector. Abu Dhabi Commercial Bank was up 0.4%. Abu Dhabi Islamic Bank 3.1%, and First Gulf Bank rose 2.3%, while Bank of Sharjah tumbled 2.3%, and National Bank of Al Quwain fell 8.5%. 119 million shares were traded, valued at 178 million dirhams. And let's now take a look at the GCC markets, which ended mixed today. And now joining us to talk about the impact of Standard & Poor's recent outlook downgrade of US government debt, we are now joined by Tim Fox, Chief Economist at Emirates NBD. Welcome to the show, Tim. The US AAA rating is at risk. What consequences would an actual rating downgrade have? How well can the international bond markets absorb the shockwaves?
Well, I think theoretically, if you did see a downgrade of US debt, certainly it would make it harder for the United States to borrow money on the international capital markets. Prices of US Treasury bonds would go down and interest rates would go higher. And I think by extension, you would also see the dollar become more vulnerable, and also potentially equity markets as well, as expectations of future growth would be impacted as well. Having said that, I think given the US position, or the dollar's position as the premier reserve currency of the world, the US does occupy a relatively privileged position or special position in the financial system. And I think it's not necessarily the case that all of those consequences would follow. For example, Japan was downgraded in the early 2000s and lost its AAA status. But the yen remained relatively firm, and interest rates in Japan remained relatively low as well.
Let's look at commodities a bit. Oil prices are trading well above $100 a barrel. While these prices are starting to hurt the non-oil producing economies, the oil-rich GCC countries benefit. Will this curtail, for instance, the UAE's ambition to shift its economy further away from oil?
Well, I think the UAE has certainly been a beneficiary of the strength of oil prices, being one of the biggest producers of oil in the world economy and in the region. But I think in terms of the oil market and the sense that oil is itself a finite resource, I think it makes sense for the authorities to continue diversifying oil in order to create a more sustainable growth path for the future. Also, we all know that oil prices are quite volatile, so we cannot rely on the oil price remaining as high as it is today, which also makes it important to pursue other sources of wealth in order that the UAE can continue to grow on a sustainable path in the medium to long term.
Thank you very much, Tim. And now to our top stories. Dubai's business relationship with Sudan is good, but needs to be developed further. That's according to Dubai's chairman of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Abdul Rahman Saif Al Ghurair met with the Sudanese delegation, led by Governor Lieutenant Hadi Abdallah Mohammed Al Awad in Dubai today. The visit will help cement bilateral ties and open up new channels of cooperation among the two countries. The chairman said in his speech that Sudan ranks 38th on the list of top trading partners to the UAE, with non-oil trade reaching 4.2 billion dirhams at the end of 2009. He added that there are currently 511 Sudanese companies operating in Dubai, a number that both sides should take forward. 2 years after receiving its first imports of liquefied natural gas, Dubai may seek to develop export capacity so it can become a trading and transport center for the fuel. Dubai is already an oil trading center with the Dubai Mercantile Exchange, which was launched in 2007. Establishing a physical hub for receiving, storing and exporting natural gas would be an initial step towards establishing a market-based Asian pricing and trading center for LNG and financial derivatives, such as gas futures contracts, experts say. The Dubai Supply Authority has made a start by building a floating receiving facility for LNG imports and developing an undersea gas storage in a tapped-out oil field off the coast of Dubai. Dubai's Electricity and Water Authority has set the scene for the private sector to enter into power generation. According to a local paper, private businesses will be allowed to invest into the Hessian Power and Desalination Complex, the biggest project of its kind in the region. The private sector's stake in the project will be 49% and DEWA's stake will be 51%. The complex is being built 60 kilometers southwest of Dubai on the shores of the Arabian Gulf. It will be constructed in 6 stages, with the first 2 set for delivery in 2014. Each stage costs up to $3 billion. Once completed, the Hessian Power and Desalination Complex will produce 9,000 megawatts of power and 72 million gallons of water per day. And in our fast financial news, inflation in the GCC countries has been forecast to rise more than 4% this year, according to a Kuwaiti bank. It accounts this to high global commodity prices, especially off the back of soaring food prices. The study added that energy prices may also continue to rise from growing demand in emerging markets, which will add further pressure to rising consumer prices. Abu Dhabi developer Eshraq plans to raise 825 million dirhams in an initial public offering that has been scheduled for May 1st. Eshraq will sell 55% of the company in the offering, with shares initially priced at 1 dirham, the company said. And Abu Dhabi's finance house posted a net profit of 29.3 million dirhams in the first quarter of the year, compared to 32.1 million for the same period last year. However, net interest income came in higher by 1 million dirhams. Even more so, income from fees and commissions. It nearly doubled to 8.3 million dirhams compared to 4.6 million in 2010. And after the break, we will run you through what's making the headlines in international business today.